Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Robinson here again. We're going to continue our study skill series for grade 7 mathematics with a show dedicated to Skylar B. All right, Skylar, our topic today we're going to talk about is one-step equations. So let's go. If you need help with your homework, there's always dial a teacher homework helpline at 212-777-3380, Monday to Thursdays, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Give them a call. They're very nice people. I also have study videos on YouTube. My channel name is Dan Robinson, PKMS, Peekskill Middle School. So subscribe to our channel. Help us to get to 1,000 subscribers. Give us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing. You can also write a comment to us. Let us know how we're doing and what we can do better to improve and help you even more. I do write back, by the way. Coming soon, our PKMS Math Prep 21. So look for it. Good movie. You can tweet me at drobmath1. Don't forget to watch our show Math Time on Tuesdays from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Optimum Cablevision, only in Peekskill on Channel 15. All right, let's get to it. So our topic again is solving one-step equations. So here, a one-step equation is an algebraic equation that you can solve in only one step. You solve the equation when you get the variable by itself with no numbers in front of it or on the side of the equal sign, like this one down here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Solving one-step equations. Opposite is a key word. They also say inverse, so that's good to know as well. So opposite operations are used to solve equations. So that's the key to solving these one-step equations. You're doing the opposite. So if your operation is addition, the opposite is subtraction. For example, n plus 5, the opposite of plusing 5 would be minusing 5 on both sides. So remember, the example applies to both sides, only to the opposite, and you're doing to both sides of the equal sign. If you're subtracting, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So y minus 17, the opposite of subtracting 17 is adding 17 to both sides of the equal sign. If you're multiplying, the opposite of multiplying is division. So if you have 4h, which means 4 times h, the opposite of multiplying by 4 would be dividing by 4. That slash is the way you also can write divide or the fraction bar. So you do a division by 4 on both sides of the equal sign. If you have division, the opposite of division is multiplication. So this is a division problem, some number divided by 8. So the opposite of dividing by 8 would be to multiply both sides by 8, and that is done on both sides of the equal sign. We won't talk about square root, but the opposite of square rooting is squaring. So you would square both sides of the equal sign. So if you had the square root of 3m, you would square both sides. Fraction, reciprocal. The reciprocal is interesting because you have like 2f over 3, whereas you have a fraction, and you're going to know that fraction, if you checked out one of my other videos, is another way of saying a division problem. And the opposite of division we just learned is multiply. So your fraction 2/3 is going to be multiplied by the reciprocal, which means turn that upside down to 3/2. So you're going to multiply by 3/2. If you don't like to deal with fractions, you can change your fraction to decimals. And that's a better way to deal with them in case you don't like fractions. So we're gonna deal with most of these today. So let's get going. The rules for solving equations. Remember, we can add, subtract, multiply, or divide, or both sides of the equal sign by the same number. That's important. It's got to be the same number. We want to perform the opposite operation from the one shown in the problem. The opposite of adding, remember, is subtracting. The opposite of subtracting is adding. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. All right, so we're going to start off first with one-step addition problems. So this is for you, Skylar. So here we go. I know you know how to do this. So here's our addition problem. This is an addition problem that I know you can solve without even doing that serious work, but it's x plus 2 equals 5. So the opposite is what we're going to deal with. Remember, inverse on both sides of the equal sign. So we're going to use the inverse or the opposite operation on both sides of the equal sign. So the operation is addition. So the opposite of addition would be subtraction. So instead of adding 2, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides of the equal sign. So notice I have a minus 2 in yellow on both sides of the equal sign. So now when I combine that, plus 2 and minus 2, that's going to cancel out, leaving me with 0 on this side. And on this side, I have 5 minus 2. And 5 minus 2 will give me the answer, which is 3. So what was nice is this canceled out, and I'm sorry for moving it. The 2's canceled out to each other, added up to 0, to plus 0. So we don't even have to write x plus 0 because that just gives us x. So that's why we say they cancel out. That's why we use opposite operations to cancel out those pairs. So our answer is found by using the opposite operation. So that's addition. Let's take a look at a one-step subtraction example. And again, the key is use the inverse operation on both sides of the equal sign. So here's our example. X minus 3 equals 9. Now remember, we have to use the opposite operation. So opposite operation. So the inverse operation. Keep that word inverse in mind because it means the opposite. So what's the opposite of minus 3? If you said plus 3 or adding 3, that's correct. So we would add 3 because it's the opposite of minusing 3. So minus 3 and a plus 3, that's going to add up together. But we do that on both sides. So notice I have the green box on both sides of plus 3. So that way I can add these together, which will add up to 0. And that's what I need to cancel out. So I have nothing left on that side but the x. So this cancels out. And now I have x plus 0, which will be just x. And on the other side, I have 9 plus 3, which will give me the answer. So 9 plus 3 is 12. So there's my answer, x is equal to 12. I'm going to check that by substituting for x equal 12, which was the answer we got, and I'm going to replace x with 12. And then I'm going to take 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. So 9 equals 9, so that does check out. So my answer is correct. So x is equal to 12. So I hope you understood that. If you're not sure, rewatch the video, write down your questions, and bring them into class, and I'll be glad to go over it with you. Okay, let's deal with one-step problems on multiplication. So here's an example of multiplication. But remember, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to deal with the opposite. So here's a multiplication problem. But Dr. Rob, I don't see the multiplication sign. Well, remember, when you have a number next to a letter, that's implied multiplication. So you might want to check out my video on solving those equations when we're dealing with multiplication. And that 3 would be called a coefficient. You'll get that later on in 7th grade math. So this is a little review of the 6th grade math. So 3n, it means 3 times n. So I'm going to multiply 3 times n to give me 12. But remember, I have to do the opposite operation, which is division. So instead of multiplying by 3, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So that way the 3's are going to cancel down. Some people say they cancel out, but technically they cancel down to 1 because 1 divided by 1 is really 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So what I will have left is a 1 times n, which is just really n. So n is going to equal to 4, because 12 divided by 3 is 4. So in 1n, that's simply n. It's one little n. So we don't have to write the coefficient in algebra. So our answer is 4 for this question. And we should check that by substituting for n equal 4. So we'll go back to our multiplication problem. 3n means 3 times n, and I put parentheses there because that means multiply the number times whatever's in the parentheses. And I'll put a 4 because we said n was equal to 4. 3 times 4 equals 12, and 12 equals 12. So this question does check out when n is equal to 4. So here's a question I want you to try. See if you can solve it for x. So now it's your turn to figure it out. Remember, this is multiplication. 2 times a number equals 5. So what is that number? So hopefully you can figure it out. Remember, do the opposite operation. That's the key. I hope you get it and understand what's going on. If you're still not sure, write down your questions and bring them in, and I'll be glad to answer them. Let's talk about one-step division examples. So one-step division examples. Remember, first, the opposite of division is multiplication. So we're going to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So let's look at a division problem. Here's a division problem. K over 2. That looks like a fraction. And if you remember, fractions are division problems in disguise. The fraction bar means divide. That's how we write it in algebra. So k divided by 2 equals 16. So remember, we have to do the opposite of divide. So k is being divided by 2, so we need to multiply both sides by 2. That way, when we multiply both sides by 2, what happens is the 2's cancel out or cancel down to 1. So that way, we don't have to worry, because 1 times k will just give us that one little k. And remember, multiply the other side by 2. So you got to do that to both sides of the equal sign. And 16 times 2 is 32. So one little k is simply equal to k. So we don't have to write the 1 in algebra. We just write the letter. So k is equal to 32. We better check that to make sure we're right. So remember, we did the opposite of division, which was multiplication. So now I'm going to take the answer that I got, which was k is equal to 32, and I'm going to replace k with 32. When I divide it by 2, do I get 16? Well, if you get your calculator out, 32 divided by 2 is 16, Skylar. So 16 is equal to 16. So this question is right when k is equal to 32. So that's the solution for this one. So I hope you're getting it right and you're understanding what's going on. Here's an example for you. K divided by 4 equals 4. Oh, Dr. Rob, that's too easy. I know the answer already. It's 1, right? No, it's not 1. Remember, you have to do the opposite of dividing by 4, which is multiplying by 4. Okay, that'll give you a nice hint. So check your understanding. I hope you get it now. If you're not sure, write down your questions, rewatch the video if you have to, and bring in your questions tomorrow, and I'll be glad to answer them. So remember, there's Dial a Teacher Homework Helpline if you need help, 212-777-3380, Monday to Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Give them a call. They're very nice people. They'd love to help you. You could also watch my tutorial videos on YouTube. My channel name is Dan Robinson, PKMS. Subscribe to our channel. Help us to get to 1,000 subscribers. You can give us a thumbs up or write a comment. Let us know. I do write you back. And we have an upcoming movie called PKMS Math Prep 21. Take a look at the commercial we have. It's out there. You can tweet me at drobmath1. Don't forget to watch our show Math Time on Tuesdays from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Optimum Cablevision, Channel 15, only in Peekskill. If you want to study with me and you would like a worksheet on some of these questions that we just did, write me at drobinson@peekskillschools.org. Hey, math prep 21, the pandemic. So check it out. There's little Kinsley. So I hope you enjoyed our video on one-step equations. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, subscribe to my channel. Help us to get to 1,000 subscribers.